Hi everyone, this is Oscar with Lone Star Online Solutions. With Lone Star Online Solutions, we manage, host, and set up websites for small businesses, small business owners, whatnot. We also host websites for customers, and we get a lot of questions. We have different services. We manage websites for customers where we do all the work and updates and everything. Customer doesn't have to do anything but just submit changes and things to us, and then we also host websites where customers do everything on their own, install servers and not necessarily the server, but like WordPress or whatever, right, and maintain their own website. So the goal of this video is to show you guys how to install the LAMP server on CentOS 8 or CentOS 8, however you want to say it. It's the most recent release. This is a tutorial for beginners to maybe the beginning of an intermediate user. This is mostly geared for beginners. This is a fast video and it's fast paced. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you need more info, leave a comment. You can, if not, you can go to our website, Lone Star Online Solutions.com. If not, like I said, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and all that. Love you. So here we go. The first thing you want to do is make sure everything's up to date on your server. So I had to SSH into my server that I have here at home from my Windows server, because I was playing some video games and I didn't feel like switching operating systems, but anyways, so I'm SSH there, and what you're gonna need is a server or machine to run your web host, and you're going to also need to port forward, if you're doing this at home, port forward 80 from your router to your server, and I'll cover that briefly. And you'll also need a user with either sudo permissions or a root user, so you have permissions to install stuff. First thing I would do is make sure your system is up to date. Now I know DNF is the most recent release or package manager for CentOS 8, but I'm old school, so I still use yum. So you can use sudo DNF update, or you can do yum, sudo yum update, whatever floats your boat. I'm used to yum. So to your password, boom, do its thing. So I'm gonna let my system do its thing. I'm gonna pause this and I'm gonna come back. Well, it's gonna take about a few minutes to download updates for whatever reason on my server. So while that's happening, I'm gonna briefly go over the other settings that I was telling you about on your router. Now let me open up my router settings here. Give me a moment. Okay, so the first thing you would have to do is log into your router, your configuration settings for your router. Now I know you're probably wondering, why does it keep switching screens or pausing it or whatever? It's because I don't want to reveal my IP addresses and things like that. So because of bad people or whatever, people with too much time in their hands. So right now I'm in our router software here thing, and what I would recommend, and again this is like a quick overview, so you'd have to assign, if possible, a static IP address to your web host or your web server. And I don't know how your setup looks like, but on mine it would be under DHCP server, and this is my Plex server and my other FreeNAS server. So here, let's say you just hooked up a dedicated machine to your switch or router or whatever, and it assigned it an IP address. If you already know your IP address, that's cool. In your Mac, you can go up here, hit add, it'll reserve it. What that means is that as long as this information is here, it'll be automatically assigned to that machine forever, as long as it's there. If you don't have this here, every day your IP address can change. Like this is, I think this is my friends or somebody's cell phone when they get on my Wi-Fi, and that can change every 10 hours or hour or whatever. So you don't want to do that, because once you have a DNS set up, a domain name, I mean, pointing to your server, you want to have a static IP address set up on this end here. So when you have that, you can go to your system settings here and set up the port to forward. So what that means basically is when traffic comes through a web server, it goes through port 80 for the main traffic. So for port 80, you would hit, you know, add service type. You know, you can do existing FTP, HTTP. Like for example, this is HTTP. It would hit my internal server, so it would be, what is it, 189. We'll hit save. So what this means is anything that hits, that's forwarded to my IP address, hitting this port 80 will turn around and hit this IP address. And this IP address, this machine is already listening on port 80. So traffic comes in, hits the external port, then my router or firewall, whatever, routes it to my internal port on this server at 80. So that's how you get traffic going through. It's kind of like a traffic cop. So that's basically how you do that. Like, you know, I'm gonna have to switch back on that. If y'all need more info on that, let me know. I'll make another video about it. The reason I mentioned all this stuff is because this is geared to people that are going to run their own server in the office, a small office, or run a server inside their home. Now this could be any kind of server, a Plex server, a NOS, it could be a little web server for fun, it could be anything you want to run. You just have to make sure the ports are being forwarded to the right machine, and you want to set up a static IP for those machines. So like, remember earlier when I started the video, I told you I was gonna tunnel into, sorry, the loud truck passed by, tunnel into my server. Well, it needs for a secure shell, it needs port 22. So that's already, you know, set up. So anything that's going into my router from port 22 is going to be forwarded to this internal IP address. If you have a SQL server running, you're going to have to trigger and you have external requests from outside your network, you would have to set up something like this. Anything that's coming from the outside in, you have to set up this. Anything inside your network, between your printers, your laptops, internal computers, all that's fine. Everything will talk to each other inside. But from the outside, that's where, it gets tricky. So I just wanted to clarify that a little. Alright, sorry about that. So it's done. Took about 20 minutes. But here we go. So basically, a LAMP server is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Now all of those are open source software, and basically this is the most popular and free and open source, what people call stack, and it's used by a lot of people: website administrators, developers, newbies, enthusiasts, hobbyists, whatever you want to call them. A lot of people use it to test things, host things. I mean, you could create a website and host it all on your own, or set it up somewhere and run it, So a LAMP server has 4 components that I kind of briefly touched on, and those 4 components we have to install them from scratch. And so sometimes you'll run into a situation where you might have a host like us that installs all of this and has it all ready to go, and you just come in and plug and play, send us your info, create your website and all that. But for customers that want to do all this for whatever reason, or know how to do it and save money, this is a great how-to video. Now, a lot of web hosts or hosting companies have buttons that you can just literally hit one button and it does all this for you. So if you are the type of person that doesn't have a lot of patience or anything like that, then yeah, I would go through that route. But if you're interested in learning, or you're trying to get more information because you're nervous about it, or want to try it and just want to get more info first, just keep going. So again, the first thing we want to do is update our system, and I know I kind of ramble on, so I'm sorry. So we did that. Now we want to install Apache. So first thing we want to do, now some people just install Apache, which is HTTPD, but what we're going to do is install that and the tools. Now you don't have to do the tools. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Password. Gotta remind myself not to say it out loud. Yes. Now you can hit -Y on the command so it won't have to keep asking you, are you sure you want to install this? Are you sure you want to install this? Or if you hit -Y, or you enter the command. So when I hit this command here and hit enter, if I would have put a -Y, a space, and then a -Y, it would automatically answer yes to any question like this. Now I would say if you're installing this from somewhere safe and somewhere that it's great, like a rail system with rail source files and all that, then yeah, that's great. I mean, you could just hit -Y and do whatever. But if you're installing stuff from somewhere you don't know anything about, or kind of sketchy maybe, then you might want to see what everything it asks for. But I mean, if you don't trust the source, then you shouldn't be trying to install something, So yeah, we'll go from there. Alright, so after installing that, the installation is complete. So what you want to do is we want to make sure that Apache starts up automatically every time your server reboots or restarts for whatever reason. So to do that, well, I'm going to be doing a lot of root commands, so I'm just going to switch to root. So I won't have to keep doing sudo. You mean sudo? What? Wasn't it sudo I, or is it sudo? I don't remember. That's strange. Okay, for whatever reason it's not. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Come on, don't make me look bad in front of my peeps. Okay, so let's pause this real quick. Alright, sorry about that. So I just have too many passwords in my head. So what we're gonna do is tell our system control to enable HTTPD, and what that creates is a symlink, and basically all that is telling your system, hey, whenever you're starting up a bunch of programs when you first boot or after a reboot, start this. Okay, and then we want to start the service, so tell it system control start HTTPD. Boom, it's running. Now if you want to check it to see if it is running, you just do that. It's running. Yay, happy day. So clear that out. Then now for a lot of stuff we're going to want to update the firewall rules. There's about 10,000, I'm exaggerating. There's a few ways to do this. I'm going to show you one way. So what you're going to want to do is use a firewall command to add the service, you can add the service to this here, and he's using the firewall command. Permanent zone is public, so we're adding the service HTTP, so that the service automatically tells the firewall command and says, hey, this is a service, and it's like, oh, okay, I know what to do, it's a service. So, you know, boom, this one's already enabled, so on yours it would say, okay, success, whatever. And then we also want to do, for those that are going to install certificates on your server or whatever, you want to do HTTPS too. So we'll do that. Okay, boom. Now remember, yours is not going to say warning already enabled, because I already did that, so I was just showing you how. Then we want to reload the firewall. If you press up, you can, the history will, press the up key on your keyboard, it will re-type in the last command. There's other ways of doing, you can press like different button combinations to do retype stuff and go to the beginning of the line and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into all that in this video, but that's just a quick tip. So firewall command, we want to reload this mug. Is it dash that? I'm going by memory, so reload. The reason we want to reload it is basically it's restarting the service, the firewall service, like quick, like really quick, so it goes down and back up in milliseconds, so it reloads its configuration files and all that. So in essence, we don't have to do the Windows thing where we have to shut down the computer and then restart it. That's kind of lame. So here we go. Now once you configure your port settings, remember you have to do the port forwarding and stuff like that. You'll be able to go to the IP address of your server to view the page. Well, my site's working, but it has some PHP info. So yeah, I'll fix that later. But yeah, the thing is running, and I'll show you another example once I get that going. So the next thing to install is mariadb, or Maria database. That's the, basically it's a fork of the MySQL database, and long story short, it was developed by a former team that developed MySQL. So they were concerned that Oracle was going to turn MySQL into a closed source project instead of open source. So yeah, now to install it, we want to do yum install mariadb -server and mariadb. Now the server is the server, mariadb is kind of like a, I don't know if I'm describing it right. You're installing the server and then mariadb. So there's two different things you're installing. So we'll hit the -y. Yes. See, it didn't ask me this time. It automatically said yes. So for whatever reason, my downloads are taking a while. So I'm about to pause this. I'll check that in a minute. All right, everyone. So after installing mariadb, we're going to start it and enable it. So we're going to do this time I had to restart my server. It was running slow, so I figured out the problem. It was doing background tasks, so I restarted it, because usually that's like the old school way of fixing things, but it works, right? But I figured out what was causing it anyway. So I'm gonna, oh, I can't do it this sudo. Well, I'll just do it sudo fashion. The reason why usually it's sudo -i, I believe, to do it the current standard way of logging into root, but for whatever reason I can't do it on this rig. I can do it on my other servers. I have to figure out why, but that's beyond what we're doing. So I'll just do it the old-fashioned way, su dash. You can do su and then root, but the reason why you want to do sudo and then dash is because it'll load your root users paths and everything, instead of if you don't do a dash, you can still log in as root, but it'll be using your paths and settings and stuff like that under your profile or whatever profile you're currently logged in. So that's a little bit more, again, deeper than we're trying to get into. But I'm a intermediate, I guess you could say, Linux user, so I like to explain a little bit of what I'm doing in the background. Really? Why? Oh, I remember. Okay, sorry. I'm doing that, not the... This is kind of embarrassing, isn't it? I'm gonna make myself a note here to cut this out, but I know I'm not going to, so I'm just gonna... Come on now. Let's see if that will do it. There we go. Sorry about that. I wasted, what, a minute? So, first we want to start it. System control, start mariadb. Then we want to enable it. So again, enable it means it starts at the beginning, kind of like when Windows starts and everything starts loading up on your screen, you know, like on the right screen, like your Skype or all these stupid little programs that start coming up. It's sort of like that. So the next time you have to restart your server for whatever reason, it'll automatically load it. And it's important because it's an important service you want running, you know. So then if you want to make sure it is running, we can do system control status. Really? You're gonna make me do that? Yeah, that's probably why. There it goes. It's running. It's green. Taking your SQL requests now. That's right. You better take them. So we quit that. Clear the screen. And so once we verify that, the next thing we want to do is we need to secure the database engine in MariaDB. So what we're going to type in is, you want to do this every time you install your MariaDB. Now this is for a production environment, so if this is going to be online live connected to the internet, you definitely want to do this. If this is something you're doing just privately or in your own network, you don't necessarily have to worry about it, but I always do it. So I mean, it's up to you, but why not? Secure installation. Yes, in order to do it, secure it. So it's gonna ask you for a password. On this one it might say it's wrong for me because I've done this before, but on you would just have to hit enter for none. See, it's already using a password. So what would the... See if I remember it. Okay, I did remember the password. Okay, so like I said, on your fresh install, it's gonna ask you for a password. Just hit enter, and it's gonna continue because you haven't set one yet. But I already set it up and went through this, so it asked me for a password. Okay, now it's gonna prompt you for a few things. It's gonna ask you if do you want, for me it's gonna ask me if I want to change the root password. I don't, but for you it's gonna ask you the rest of these things here. Do you want to remove anonymous users? Yes. And do you want to disallow root login remotely? Yes, because then you could have robots trying to get in all the damn time. And yes, we definitely don't want that. Reload privileges, yes. Also, it might ask you if you want to remove any guest access and stuff like that. You also want to do that. So there, we did that part. Now your MariaDB server, or I should say database process, is a little bit safer. There's more ways and more things that you can do to make it safer, but that's beyond the scope of this. So now we'll install PHP 7. Since you know this is CentOS 8 that we're running, and we want the latest and greatest. And you can install earlier versions if you want, and that's on you if you want to do that, but I'm going to show you how to do 8, and I can show you how to do that if you want. Leave me a comment or send us an email or whatever, and we'll go from there. So first we got to install it's called the EPEL repository. I don't know if it's EPEL or EPEL. I just call it EPEL. So I already have it, so I'm gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna show you, obviously how you would do it. So hit paste, type that in, sudo dnf install https, and I'm going to have this everything I typed in the in the info below, so you don't have to rush and type it, because this video is kind of slow and fast at the same time. Hit enter. It's gonna do its thing. Like I said, on mine it already has it. It might not, it might, I don't remember. So hit yes, and there we go. Now we're gonna want to install this thing called DNF utils. Now the reason I'm typing in sudo is because you might not be logged in as root, and you need root permission or an elevated permission to install stuff, on CentOS. So I don't have to put sudo, but I'm just used to it. See, that's already installed. And then oh well, we also want to do this. Sorry, I did this wrong. There we go. Every time I try to make videos from home, there's always something going on. I know I'm rambling a bit, but and everything, because everything's going on working from home. But my microphone goes out, then they start doing construction outside my house, then they start building a house next door, and it's just anyways. So this is what you want to run. So I already did that. That's already installed. And after that, then we want to do this command. So this is going to show us what's available. See, so 7.3 is available, 7.4 is available, and I believe on my system I already have certain ones available. So I think I have 7.4. I don't remember, but this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna reset whatever, just in case you have something else in there. Now you might not have to do this, but I am. So this way I can install the latest one. So that resets the PHP module. Now we're gonna enable this part here. This is doing is enabling the 7.4 repository and stuff, so I can download from there, and I'm skipping the other ones. Now if you don't have PHP installed at all, then all you have to do is run this command and it'll install it. So you're gonna install PHP, the PHP OP cache, PHP GD, PHP curl, PHP MySQL, all that. So yes. See, if I would have typed -y, I would have just kept going. So here we are. Now after this is done, there's a few things we can do to verify PHP is on here. We can do php-v. PHP command not found. Oh, sorry, I did the... See, so that's what I have installed. PHP space -v. Then now we have that installed. So now we don't... Normally people would say restart your system, but this isn't Windows, for God's sake, so we're just going to restart or start the service. start that, and then we want to enable PHP, so we'll do that. Then we can go system control status php-fpn, so it's running. Yay! So we hit clear, clears the screen, and then here's the next part. Now, a lot of people don't like SE Linux, but it's part of CentOS 8 and RHEL, and so it's a thing we have to interact with. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to instruct SE Linux to allow Apache to execute PHP code via php-fpm. So hit that. Hit that. Let it do its thing. It's done. Now we're gonna restart Apache. So we'll do restart HTTPD. Done. Now there's different ways to test PHP. What we're going to do is we're going to create a var file, well, a file in the directory, HTML directory for Apache. So we're going to use vi and insert mode. So I'll just type in, I guess I'm not a PHP expert, but let's see what I can do here. I think that's it. Yeah. Close that out. Alright. So I now created like a PHP script to show you that my web server was working. I ended up just installing WordPress as an example, and this is it's just an example that my web server is running, and I created a no IP domain name to forward to my non-static IP address at home. So basically what that means is, and I'll make another video if I have to about that, but I went to noip.com. They made this domain name for me. This domain name gets forwarded to my computer. Now the way NoIP knows my IP address is my router has the ability to connect to them every hour or so and tell them where my IP address is. So that's how I'm able to get traffic forwarded to my page here that I host privately. And the reason I'm doing it this way is to show how someone, you know, like doing this as a hobby or testing or development, or maybe even doing something like this at a home office or whatever, or a little office, would do it. So if you need more info on how to set this up, the no IP part, leave a comment, email, call, whatever, subscribe, like on all that. So the website's working. After that part, then that's pretty much it. So once you make sure it's working, once you load your page, you're gonna see the PHP info and stuff. You don't have to do that. You can install WordPress or do whatever and all that and get it going, but the PHP info script that I showed you is just to show you the version of PHP you have. Once you're done with that, delete it, because you don't want people to know what version you have, because they can try and do things to hurt your system. And that's it. That's all I have for this. That's how you install LAMP on CentOS 8. If you need help with any other thing, leave me a comment, send me a message. Again, I am a intermediate to, I don't know, I wouldn't say pro at Linux, but I have been using Linux for over 10 years. So if you need help with it, let me know. I'm mostly an expert, not an expert, I'm mostly well versed in Red Hat Linux. So Ubuntu and all that, Debian, I'm not too familiar with it. Or Kali, I'm not familiar with Kali that much. I mean, I can use it, I know the basics, but and I don't know how to do everything. There's things that are outside of my scope, but I can point you in the right direction maybe. So I'm used to digging through man pages and manuals to figure out info. Anyways, so subscribe. If you know anybody needs help with this, please let them know to subscribe. For other help that you need, or if you have questions on hosting or anything like that, or want to check out our pricing, just go to www.lonestaronlinesolutions.com. Subscribe. Love you. Bye.